Hello and welcome. In today's episode, we are going to progress all the way through Industrial Foregoing and finally get ourselves some soul lava. So let me introduce you to the Industrial District. So as you can see, I have been busy building. Things are obviously not fully complete yet. I did change the cave area a little bit. I like the way it looks better now as opposed to before. It was just too squared off and it looked too much like a structure rather than a cave. So made some improvements down there. I do have a crane pit construction area kind of thing over here. And this is meant to house our mining sort of stuff. So I've got our gears growing on the walls over there. And I think our sieves and stuff I will also put down here somewhere. Maybe we'll make a little minecart cave looking thing that looks like it's going to be bringing dirt and cobblestone and all that kind of stuff down to be sifted. So still some improvements to do with this pit. The crane I don't like. I like the idea of the crane. I don't like the execution of it. So the crane will definitely change into something that looks a little bit more crane-like. But I just have to figure that out. I had a lot on my plate with redesigning the cave completely. Doing this pit crane design and then also adding this industrial area. My original vision for the industrial district was going to be like this rustic, like brick and wood platform sort of deal with like warehouses around, kind of like hangars, like more like airplane hangars, like just like big factory sort of stuff. And I have no idea what happened between that vision and like actually building this, that it turned into a mall. So we basically have a shopping mall now. And I'm going to go with it. I think it'll be nice to have like these little rooms, little like 9x9 rooms to house like different setups in. And then for some of the bigger stuff like mechanism, like our draconic evolution balls and all that kind of stuff, maybe I can do a little offshoot in this general area. And then we can have more of like an industrial design for that. These signs are just banners. Look up how to make letters on banners in Minecraft and it'll guide you through that. But anyways, we've got a lot to cover in today's episode, so let's crack on with that. We are going to get started with Industrial Foregoing. And in Industrial Foregoing, you always start out with latex. This is our first ingredient that we're going to need, and that comes from the fluid extractors. And if you take a look in JI, you can see there you can basically extract fluid from different logs and they give you different amounts. So cherries only gives you 3 millibuckets, where acacia gives you 4 millibuckets per work. So taking a quick look through JEI, we can see that acacia is going to be our best bet at 4 millibuckets a tick. Mangrove is also pretty good, but we will just stick with, can we make mangrove with this? Actually, I'll do mangrove because mangrove I think looks a little bit prettier. So let's make some fluid extractors. The way this works is you put the fluid extractors down and it always faces away from you, the industrial foregoing machines. So whichever direction you're facing, that's where they work. So we can place them down like this, and then if you put a piece of wood, they will start, you can see, start basically extracting fluids from this log, and it goes in here. With upgrades as well as power, these machines will work faster, so I'm going to add that, and I also don't want it to be like in the middle of the room. Basically, you can have multiple fluid extractors on a piece of log, but I am going to make a aesthetic choice, and instead of doing that, I'm only going to put a few down. So let's say I'll put them down like this, and we can have 6 on either side, just like this, and then we can have the logs in front. And I think this will look just a little bit cleaner, and it'll allow me the opportunity to hide the cables inside of the wall, so I don't have to worry about it looking ugly. All right, so in the center of the room right here, we are going to set down our Super Factory Manager thing, and I am going to use Justire thing clickers to build this. You can also do formation planes, but the formation planes will not be able to do an area like this, whereas the Justire things block placer will. So we will need to connect all these guys with inventory cables, which I will do back here. And if we grab our network tool, we can actually facade all of these guys, so it looks perfectly seamless. Same thing on this side. And then I can just go through the floor to connect all these guys together. So this setup down here will be able to connect all of our fluid sieves or fluid extractors that are connected with these facaded inventory cables. And they will connect the Justire Things block placer that I will put right over here, along with this one. So we'll have 2 on either side, and then that will all come back to our manager. And then we will use our interface to basically handle all of the logistics. And I will put that on this side of the controller. So we will put our interface just right there, so it's touching the manager, and we'll need a wireless connector on that. Let's hook up the wireless connector to our applied energistics system. Boop. And now this is online and connected. We do need to keep a stack of mangrove logs in here. I will also need to do an induction card in the manager. If you do not have an induction card in the manager, or I'm sorry, in the interface, you will not be able to pull power from it. So it is required. I'll show you guys that in just a second. And then we also need our block placers that will go right here. So let's set the setting on this guy. We want it to do a 2x3 area right over here. That looks perfect to me. It's going to place mangrove logs. We don't really have to filter that. It's going to be the only thing that gets it. I am going to leave it also on 20 ticks. So, all right, this guy is also set in that exact area. Now let's move all the things. So let's grab our label gun and a disc. The first thing we will handle is power. So every tick do, we are going to input the FE from the interface, and we will output that to the fluid extractors and also the placers. I'll just call it extractor and placer. Now, if we label these things, so here is the placer, here's the interface, and we have our extractors. You can see when I push that, none of these are getting power. So these guys are all empty. As soon as I put the induction card inside of there, you can see the power went inside of all these machines. So without the induction card, Super Factory Manager cannot pull power from it. It is required. All right, so that is step 1. Step 2, we just have to keep, we're going to be placing 6 wood at a time, so I will just keep 6 of the mangrove logs. We are going to input, I think it's just mangrove log, right? Mangrove log. So we'll input mangrove log from the interface, and we are going to output retain 6 to each. placer. So you can see those things are going to get placed automatically, and the fluid extractors will get to work on them. The next thing we need to do is pull that fluid out and put it back into the interface where it will go inside of a cell. So let's make a 256 million mega cell. And while that's going, we will set it up. So we'll craft our 256 million fluid cell, and this guy is going to get partitioned with latex, liquid meat, pink slime, ether gas, and I will also do soul lava. So these are all the things that we're going to be getting with industrial for going, and I do need an equal distribution card in here. That will just make sure that each of these resources have an equal amount of space inside of this disk, so it doesn't completely fill up with latex and then not leave any room for the rest of the things. This guy will go, how about over here? And now we are ready to go. So with all of that latex in here, we're just going to store that inside of our system, and we can just pick that up with Superfactory Manager by saying input the fluid from extractor and output that fluid to the interface. So now you see these guys are all empty, and we have that latex building up in our system. The next step is to be able to do something with that latex, and what we really want to do is make plastic. This will get us into the next step. So the way you get that is by smelting dry rubber. So let's make the recipe for that first, and we can put that inside of our smelter automation. And then the dry rubber comes from a latex processing unit. So let's make some of that. I think 4 should probably be enough, and we're going to tap that into our automation over here. So we'll grab another pattern provider and put these guys like so. We need to set the input-output of these, and also grab another induction card. So this induction card will power all of these machines. So you can see now they have power. And we need to figure out how much latex and water this uses for the recipe, because JI doesn't show. So if we use a bucket of water and latex. I don't have buckets. We put a bucket of each inside of here. This is going to start cooking. And then that uses 750 millibuckets of latex and 500 millibuckets of water. So let's make the recipe for dry rubber, which will be a processing recipe. And dry rubber takes 500 millibuckets, so 0.5 buckets of water, and it takes 0.75, so 750 millibuckets of latex. So those two gives us 1 dry rubber, and we can put that inside of our latex processing unit. And then this one I'm going to break and put back down just to get rid of the buffer on the inside. And we need to set the output to push to the back. Same with all of these. So now if we want to make, let's say, 4 plastic, you can see each one of these machines gets enough latex and water, makes the dry rubber, those go in the furnaces, and then we get plastic. After that, we will need dissolution chambers. So these guys will use our plastic. So let's make some recipes for these guys. And I guess I'll make 12 dissolution chambers. That might be a little overkill, but they're kind of slow in the beginning, which is like where you really need them. And we have the room for it. So we've got our extended pattern providers that will go over here, and our dissolution chambers will go like so. And I'll leave the backs open so I can copy our patterns in there. As always, induction card in each of these pattern providers. Now, what I can do is just press U on the dissolution chamber and look through at all the recipes and select some of the ones that I want to make. So the pink slime ingot seems like a reasonable one to make, as well as all of these tier add-ons. And when you're making recipes like this, when you first click it in, it might select the wrong gear. So this one's the gold gear from Industrial Foregoing. We want the one from all the ores. So I'll just drag that from JEI and then make sure that is the proper recipe. The kind of experience, so these tier 4 add-ons require experience in it to craft, and I will be saving XP fluid from Just Dire Things. So even though this one's grabbing the one from Ender IO, I'm going to drag from JEI the XP fluid from Just Dire Things, and it was 4 buckets, so don't forget to change this back to 4 buckets. So just take note of whichever kind of experience fluid you're going to be using and make sure that is inside of the recipe, because there's no enable substitutions for processing patterns, so that does matter. In this mod pack, the add-ons from Industrial Foregoing go all the way up to tier 8, which is kind of crazy, and they require some extra things such as sludge and biofuel. So I'm actually going to put those, let's put these recipes in here, and I'm going to grab that drive and also partition the biofuel as well as the sludge in here. So once we have all of the patterns we want set in this one, we are not done yet. I am also going to make the blue lens and also the purple lens. And for Soul Lava, that is the blue one. Then we want to make a few of these range add-ons. I guess I'll start from 3 and go up. And once you have all of your recipes set in one pattern provider, again, we can use that memory cart trick along with some blank patterns. And if we shift right click, we can copy the settings and then paste it into the other 2 pattern providers, and that will paste all of the recipes. It'll grab from the blank patterns in your inventory and paste them in there. Then we can place our last 3 dissolution chambers and set the outputs all to be the backside, to be pushed on the back. And there is a machine settings copier from Industrial Foregoing. We can sneak right click to copy the settings and then again shift right click on them to paste. And because these guys are all just outputting to the back, it should be okay, right? Yeah, so this guy's pushing to the back and this guy's pushing to the back. So perfect. One small oversight, I am going to set all of these machines to blocking mode, just so it only inserts 1 craft at a time. And that'll make sure if there is open space inside of our dissolution chambers that it doesn't push more recipes than that. And then we can paste those settings again. Perfect. So those guys should be all set up now. The next ingredient required to progress through Industrial Foregoing is pink slime, and that comes from the mob slaughter factory, basically killing mobs. And if you do passive mobs, it will give you more pink slime. If you do hostile mobs, it'll give you more liquid meat. So let's go into our little dungeon area to set that up. I've got this area picked out for our passive mobs. So let's go ahead and grab a spawner. I've got some monster spawners from Apotheosis, and we can use a cow egg on it. So I can just buy a cow spawn egg. And we can set that up. The machine was the mob slaughter factory. Let's make a recipe for that. I will enable my night vision so you guys can see better, because I know it's dark down here. I don't want to light it up more than that, but we can use the thing, night vision. All right, so I will put the mob slaughter factory down here, pointed inwards. We do need to power and do all of that good stuff with it. I will be hooking that up with our automation over here that's doing our simulation chambers, because we already have an interface here and a manager over here. So we can just control everything in this room with that one setup. We just have to hook some cables up to it. And ignore my... let's silence this, actually. So I will put a full inventory block down there. And this is... where we can hook up to it. So we will facade that block and then just go down below all the way to over here. So now that is hooked up to our manager and interface over there. And these Crystallix glasses are nice because I can change it to allow me to go through. And if we look at the options, I updated to the latest version and all of my keybinds got reset, which was really annoying because I have some special keybinds. But if we go back to Crystallix, we can set it to only allow the player, and I don't want it to be light. And we'll turn on reinforce mode. Then you can hold shift to basically change that for all of them. Except shifting doesn't work for most things in this pack for some reason. Okay, and let's cover this back up. So a little 5x5 room will do. I'm making them out of these dim black Luminix blocks. And this is gonna be very hard to see. So there is a dark room over there, and 1, 2, 3 blocks in, I will put our mob spawner. That will be a cow spawner. And let's also grab a comparator so we can give this a redstone signal. So this guy will spawn cows, and then our mob slaughter factory is going to be able to kill those cows and gather pink slime. The only problem is this cannot currently spawn cows in here because cows need grass to spawn, and we're going to need a conduit to ignore conditions. And also I'm going to need to decrease the spawn range. So let's take a look at a spawner from Apotheosis, and if you click on it, it'll show you all of the different modifications you can do to it, and you can see piston increases the spawn range. So if we get some pistons and put a piece of quartz in our offhand, we can decrease it instead of increasing it. So our current spawn range is 4, and I can right click it and now it's at 2, and 2 will be just fine for us. We also want to increase the spawn count by doing fermented spider eyes. That'll max out at 16. We will need sugar to decrease the minimum spawn delay all the way down to 20 ticks, and clocks will decrease the maximum spawn delay. I will put a piece of wool in there so the mobs will not make any noise, and then a piece of chorus fruit will basically get rid of their AI, so they just spawn in and they're not going to move around or do anything. And the gas tiers can increase our max entities all the way up to 32. So the only thing we need now to get this guy to work is to be able to put some kind of a redstone signal underneath, which I can use a receiver. We will put this receiver down below, pointing up into it, and we'll need a button module to link to this guy, and you can't do that if you're flying, if you watch the last episode. So we'll have to build a little platform here, and then shift and right click. So now this guy is set to channel 18. And we can put this in our display over here with all of our other buttons and call it, this will be a toggle, and it will be cow spawner. So now when we turn that on, oops. Now when we turn that on, it might not work directly with the cow spawner, so what I can do is pick that up and put a piece of cog block underneath. And then we will put the, yeah, see now it's working. So that will continue to work. we'll close up that hole. So that's going to be able to get us pink slime. I just need to figure out how to do a conduit. We can make a Heart of the Sea with Celesta Gem, this crafting recipe. So that is pretty easy. I just need some more Nautilus shells. And the Prismarine bees have a 1% chance of getting some Nautilus shells, and I do have some Prismarine bees, I think. Here are our Prismarine bees. I do need a simulator upgrade that I will put in here. We can put our Prismarine bees in there and block a Prismarine. Let's speed these guys up just a little bit. And there we go. We got some Nautilus shells. Is that enough? It is. So now when we go back down inside of our cave and put this conduit in the spawner, we should be able to get cow spawns now. There we go. Cows are spawning, and let's deal with our slaughter factory. So first we're going to have to supply it with power, and I can do that over here. Slaughter factory. And then we are going to just add another clause here. I will give this a comment and say pink slime. We're just going to input both of the fluids, so it's the pink slime and the liquid meat from the slaughter factory, and I'll say bottom side, and we just output that fluid, both of those fluids, to the interface, and it'll go inside of our disk. Very, very easy. All we have to do is label it. So here is the slaughter factory. So this guy has power now. If you take a look at the range, you can see it's only one block in front of it. So we're going to need a range upgrade. And I think a tier 3 should be enough. So I'll make one of those. And when we put that in here, now it is slowly killing monsters, and we're getting the pink slime in our system. All right, so we have pink slime as well as latex automated. The next step is ether gas, and that's where the wither comes in play. So I'm going to set that up over here. And the wither is going to require a stasis chamber. It is going to require a laser drill, or multiple laser drills. And it will also require the fluid laser base. I am going to enable ghost mode for both of these guys. I'll be putting the word in here for our the soul laser thing set up. Let's grab more of those black luminix blocks, just so we can build a little area over here. So in the center here, 2 blocks away, we will put our stasis chamber in the floor. It's kind of hard to see with these Crystallix blocks, or the Luminix blocks, but it's going to look nice once we have it all set up. This is where our stasis chamber is. That will keep the wither in stasis. And directly above it, we can put our fluid laser drills and base. So here's our little ring, and our fluid laser base is going to go in the center. And then I'm going to have 3 on either side. It doesn't really matter how you set this up. You can even put range upgrades on these guys and, you know, have a bunch of them around. You just want to make sure that they are not in this direction. Why is this one? There we go. You just want to make sure that when you do put them down, you double check it, and it says that it finds the laser drill. So when it's basically in front of it in like a 3x3 like this, it will recognize it. So all of these guys have a target for the laser drill base. You want to make sure that they do. This guy needs the purple lens. So let's go ahead and make the purple lens. And we need to power all of these machines, and then the laser base does not need power, but we do need to pull the ether gas from here and put it in our interface, which is all the way down here. And we can do that with some cables. Question is, if I put that there, does this still have a target? Oops. Yes, so it looks like it does work through the blocks, and we can just do something like this. Purple lens goes in there, and we are stuck. We can bring these guys down this way, because then we'll have our warden set up over here as well. And then maybe go around the back here. Connect it to the rest of our Super Factory Manager cables. Or honestly, we could just go over here too, instead of going all the way down below. This cable will get reworked after we have it all fully set up. All right, let's go do the code. So we do want to also power the drills. I'll just call them drill. And then over here, I'll just do pink slime, ether gas, and soul lava. So then we put a forget, and we're also going to input the fluid from laser underscore base. And I don't think we need to put a side, but we will double check, and we'll just output that fluid to the interface. Actually, instead of doing that, we can accomplish all of that with one line by just putting laser base over here. And this laser base, we can tag both our soul lava and ether gas setup with this laser base one, and it will work. So let's grab our Super Factory Manager label gun and go label those guys. So here's our laser base in the center and our drills. One thing I forgot is that we also need to power our stasis chamber. I might choose to, actually, I'm going to power the stasis chamber separately with a flex point. Just because if we ever are changing the code, or we take the disk out, or we like write an invalid code or whatever, I do not want my stasis chamber to run out of power and then stop working. So we can put this point on here and connect it to our network. And this guy will be kept up with power. All right, we should be ready to spawn in a wither in here. So you can see I am being stasised. So let's grab some soul sand as well as some skulls and spawn this guy. All right, so he is stasised. Are we getting ether gas? We sure are. So we are slowly getting ether gas. If you have trouble with it, you can increase the depth here up and down. Sometimes that helps. But for us, seems like we're in a good spot. Let me see how many block. There's a 4-block gap between our stasis chamber, where the wither is on top, and our laser base. Now I do want to silence this guy, so we can set up just in the center here, I will set up, I'll call this dungeon, and we can make it rather, I don't know, 15-block range might be pretty good. And we want the wither ambient noise to be off. And then we can choose other, like the mob noises from here too. We can And also the warden, when the warden comes, we can silence him. And we are not getting the boss bar at the top, but if you do, there's also this wither boss death muffler. And if you shift right click or just right click on it, it'll hide the boss bar. But this only stops this death noise. It doesn't spawn the stop the ambient noise. So you kind of have to use the ESM settings. All right, we have ether gas. Let's make some add-ons. How about some tier 3 ones? I think we should be able to make those. We're going to need some more pink slime. This is turned off, right? Yeah. Something else I'm going to change over here is this experience holder. I am going to hook up to our system over here. So we just need to grab some cables. And when this is hooked up now, that means we can see experience XP fluid here in our system. And that'll allow us to craft the tier 4 add-ons. So now we have everything for those. So I'm going to make a bunch of these add-ons and to put in all of our dissolution chambers and all of these machines. So everything from our stasis chamber to the drills will all get those tier 4 add-ons. So I've got 12 of each of the processing speed and efficiency upgrades at the tier 4. And those guys are going to go into our dissolution chambers. So now these guys will be able to work much, much faster. And now if I want to make more of these, let's say we want to make 10 more of each. Oh, I'm just a little shy on pink slime, but you can see it's working much, much faster. If we come back down here, we can grab those add-ons and hopefully I can just make one more at least. And these guys are going to make this so much faster. So now we can kill the cows basically as soon as they spawn. And our pink slime, you can see it's going up a lot faster now. So with that, we can come inside of here and upgrade our stasis chamber. So this will work faster and heal our guy a little bit better. The fluid laser base only gets efficiency upgrades. So we'll put one efficiency in there. And then if we go back outside, I can put the upgrades inside of the laser drills as well. So essentially we need to set up this exact same setup for the warden over here in this room. The only difference is instead of the purple lens, it's going to get a blue lens. So let's make another stasis chamber, which will go in the center of this room. And I'm just using the cobblestone to basically mark my distances. And then the wall will go over here. Like that. Just because it's so hard to see with the black blocks. And then directly above the stasis chamber, hopefully 4 blocks high. So we need to bump this up one more level. See, and here is a perfect example of why it's nice to have a separate power system for your stasis chamber, because I want to move this cable up one, right? If I break this, it's going to stop supplying power to the stasis chamber, and if it runs out of power, our wither will be loose. You could, I mean, just, if you have the foresight, you could move the cable up first like this, and then break it, and that won't sever the connection, basically. But if if you're just building and you forget about that and you break the cable all of a sudden, then it's going to stop power from going into your thing. So here is our 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks high, and this is where that will go. And we need a ring. So here's our 3x3 ring in the center. Directly in the middle over here is where our laser base will go. Just like that. And on all these corners, is where the laser drills will go. And we make sure these guys all have targets. If you click show working area, as long as your laser base is within the working area, then it's, it's going to be okay. Then we are going to connect these all with cables. All right, that is all set. The only thing that kind of bothers me is I wish this room was 1 block deeper so you could see the ring of the laser drills all the way around like you can with this guy. I'll show you from the inside. It'll look a little bit more clear. So as you can see for the wither, when you look inside, you can see all 12 of those laser drills. But for the warden setup over here, we're only going to be able to see the back ones and the front ones. The ones on the sides are cut off by the walls, just because this is a narrower room. But they will still be working. You just don't see it. So, wish I had noticed that before I built this. All right, now all we need is to grab a warden. I do want a mob imprisonment tool, so let's make a recipe for that. That's how I'll grab the warden. And these guys are easy to make now that we have industrial for going. And the way you can get a warden in this mod pack is by doing the Conjure Island Deep Dark. So we get this ritual and all we have to do is click it in there. I am going to use our stick. I don't know where to put this. Should we go below? Or far away? Let's just kind of fly around up here. And I can put this guy on Angel block mode and put the Ritual Brazier in our offhand. And we're going to be able to place that in the world. Then we click this and activate it. Source needed. We do need a source jar. This guy's 10% full, but what we can do is shift click on the source inside of our thing and it'll make it completely full. And if I put that guy over there, it uses the entire thing. And we're going to get a deep dark biome spawned. Ba-ching! Then all you got to do is run around and spawn a warden. Let's grab our mob imprisonment tool so we can catch the guy. And it is important for you to wait until the warden completely spawns. If you do it while he's in his animation digging out of the ground, it's not going to work. You have to wait until he's fully spawned. Let's test out our new gears and stuff to see how hard the warden hits us for. We basically instantly heal. He's doing absolutely no damage to us at all. And if you want to kill him, we don't do a ton of damage, actually. Oops. Alright, let's go set this guy down. By the way, I edited the thing for my spells, and you can see now it looks a little bit different. It's like little sparkles, and it makes that like wind noise, and on impact it makes an explosion noise. So I think that's a really cool spell. And then my break spell is a twirly trident sound, and then on impact. I don't think it makes a noise on impact actually, but anyways, thought I'd show you that. All right, in here, we double check the stasis chamber is working. We can put our warden down. He's going to be stasis. And he's going to be making lots of noise. So let's check our filter over here. And we will do all sounds from a warden, or do entity.warden. Agitated, ambient, angry, attack, death. I'll just mute all of these in this area. Now, all we need to do is label those guys. So the drills, there are the 4 drills, and the laser base is over there. Boop. Now this should be working. Yep, we are getting soul lava. Except it's not showing up. So I did try messing with the depth a little bit, and that doesn't seem to be mattering. What if we use the personal shrinking device and I make him just a tad bit bigger? Oh, that's a little too big. He's taking damage. But we are getting soul lava now. So I think the issue is that he is too short. So in this case, for the warden, it looks like it has to be 3 blocks above him. So if we grab the laser base and another cable and put him over here, this should work now. And you can see he is taking damage. That's because our stasis chamber is not able to keep up with it. So we do need some upgrades. As soon as I put these upgrades in, come on. You can see he's healing back up to full. So just watch out for that. If your warden's taking damage, either upgrade your stasis chamber or put more of them. You can also have more than one down. All right, we got soul lava. Oh, that is very slow. Alrighty, guys, I think that is where I'm going to leave it in this episode. This mod is kind of, you kind of progress through it really quickly, but now we have all of the different tiers of items available for us. Well, except for like the sludge and stuff for the higher tier add-ons, which I'm not going to worry about right now. But we do have soul lava, so now we can make ancient stone. We can make our aldemodium and vibranium bees, and we can kind of progress forward with the mod pack. So I hope you learned something here today. In between episodes, I am going to make more of those upgrades and just kind of upgrade all of these machines, the fluid extractors, also the latex processors. So all of those machines I'm going to upgrade up to with the tier 4 add-ons. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.